Hello everybody, and welcome to this week's study skills video. This week we're going to be talking about the free study resources that are available on GED.com. So this video is for you if you are preparing for your GED tests. So we're going to start off here on our Google Classroom. So right now I'm signed into Google Classroom, and I can see here on my Google Classroom homepage my courses that I'm enrolled in. I'm going to go ahead and click on my own class. And it starts me off on the stream, but I want to look at classwork. Now, when you go to classwork, up at the top here, I can see over on the left-hand side a list of all the topics in the classroom, and down at the bottom are a couple of topics related specifically to the GED.com website. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and I can see I've got a topic here that says GED testing. There is a link to a computer-based test tutorial. If I click on that, you can read this information, and then you can click on the link. This brings you to the GED test tutorial. The GED test tutorial is to give you practice with using the computer in the way you're going to have to use the computer when you go to take the actual test. So the way that this tutorial looks on the screen is the same way that the actual GED test looks on the screen. And so it gives you practice with like clicking around with the different buttons and seeing what the instructions look like and all the different types of questions that you might see. So this is definitely something to work through, especially if you feel like you need practice with your computer skills, or if you ever feel a little uncomfortable when you're clicking around on a computer screen, then I would highly recommend trying the computer-based test tutorial. I have a feeling this is probably only going to work on laptops or computers. It might work on a tablet. I'm not sure if it'll work on a phone. If you try it on a phone, let me know how it goes. All right, and then I also have links here to instructions on how to schedule a ready test or a GED test. So you can take a look at those if it is your time to schedule a test. But then what I really want to focus on here is where it says GED practice. So in this topic, it's got links to some of the free study materials that are available on GED.com. So the first one is a link to the study guides. You can read that information there, and then you can click on the link. It will open up a new window. And it's got a link to study guides for the 4 different subjects. So it's available in English and then also in Spanish for each subject. If we click on View Now for the Mathematical Reasoning Study Guide, it opens up a document. And this is basically a printout of the study guide that's hosted on the website. So in just a minute, we're going to see what it looks like if you actually log into your GED.com account and navigate to the study guide. This is just kind of a printout version, something you could print out and read, or it's really meant for teachers to be able to print out and give to students, which is something I can do for you if you would like me to do. So that's available for each of the subjects on the GED test. And then I also have a link here that says GED sample test. If we click that, you can click this link. This brings us to free sample tests. So these are things that you can do at home on your own time. They are very short versions, very short practice tests. I think they're like 10 questions each or something like that. That just give you kind of a taste of what the GED test is like. So you can look at those for each of your subjects. And then I also have a link to the GED.com blog. So the GED.com blog has posts about the different tests and the different test subjects. And it also covers just some important topics that are covered on each test. And they have some other interesting stuff on here. So for example, on June 15th, they had a post about this person who finished her GED and became a GED graduate. So an inspirational story that might be something you're interested in as well. So there are all these different posts or like short articles that you can read that give you extra information and interesting tidbits about the test. So they actually have a lot of good stuff here. So Math 101, what is perimeter? What is an area? That's a topic we've covered in our lessons, but you can go on here and you can either click this or you can click continue reading and it'll bring you to the actual blog post. And you can read through this. They give you a summary of what perimeter and area mean for the math test. They've also here got best TV shows to have in the background while studying. The best TV show to have in the background while studying is no TV show. But if you must have something on in the background, make sure it's something not too distracting. Okay. So those are all links that are available right at the bottom of the classwork tab on our GED classroom here. But I'm actually going to go to the GED.com website. So I just, in a new tab here, if I go to GED.com, it brings me to this homepage. And then if you already have a GED.com account, which many of you do, you would go here to log in. And I'm going to show you what are the different things that you can access once you're logged into your GED.com account. So I'm going to go ahead and log into my pretend student account here. Hopefully this works on the first try. I was getting some errors earlier. Yes, success. Okay. So a lot of times when you log in, there's going to be some of these like red alerts. They've got an alert up here about how COVID-19 is impacting GED testing. I think that's going to be up there for a while. And then you might also have some alerts down here in the middle of the page specifically about your test. Those alerts are usually there just like if you haven't passed all of your tests, then there's going to be an alert there. It's not anything to worry about really. Okay, so GED.com, your account on GED.com is basically the home for all of your GED testing related stuff. So all of your scores live here on GED.com. This is definitely something that you should know about and that you should know how to access and that you should take a look at. Right, your test scores are your responsibility. That's for you to keep track of and to kind of use as a study guide and as motivation. So the first thing it shows you under test scores are your actual GED test scores. You can see I haven't taken any of the tests in this account, so it's not showing anything. And then under that, you'll find your GED Ready practice test scores. So the GED Ready is the practice test you have to pass before you go take the real test. Once you start taking those tests, your test scores will live here. So if I had a score here, I'd be able to click on this and it would open up a test report that gives me a list of things that I need to work on. Okay, so those are the test scores. The other important thing here is I'm going to go back home to the home screen. So these 4 subject buttons right here on the home screen, these bring you to subject-specific study materials that are available on GED.com. So I'm going to click on math, but this all works the same way for each of these subjects. I'm going to click on the math button here. Okay, so it gives me a little bit of information about the test. It's 115 minutes long, so almost 2 hours. There's 2 sections to it. There's 4 main topics that are covered. So those 4 topics are, see if I can list them, basic math, basic algebra, functions and graphing, and then geometry. So those are kind of the 4 main topics. And then it lists the cost of the test as $30. That's the same cost for each of the subjects. And then right underneath that is what I really want to focus on. So we've got the study guide here. This is a study guide This is a study guide that GED.com has put together to inform you and give you some practice about the test. So it's a little slideshow that they've broken up into sections. The first part is just an intro, and then they covered the 4 topics. So those 4 topics that they mentioned up here. So if you click on the first part, it brings you to a little slide. So intro 1 of 6, there's 6 slides. So you would click next. You just read each slide. Read each of those pieces of information, and then when you're done, you click finish. It brings you back to the previous screen. So we just read the intro. Now we could click basic math. And in each of these topics, what it's going to do is it's going to list the most important skills for each of those topics. So you can see here it says skill 1 of 10. So we are going to see a list of 10 skills related to basic math that are probably going to show up on the test. So the first skill is fractions and decimals in order. So we're going to need to be able to place fractions and decimals in order. They give you an example. You can order the set of numbers. So these numbers right here, you can put them in order from smallest to largest. And then under that, they have an example question. So this is showing you what a question related to this skill would look like on the actual test. And then they show you what the correct answer is here. So it says, between which pair of decimals should 4/7 be placed on a number line? You have 4 choices here, and the correct choice is C. And when you're ready, you could go on to the next skill. So you can click through and read all of those examples, look at all of those questions. And when you get to the end, finish. It brings you back to the math screen. So we just went through basic math. It's showing me now that it's completed, that I've gone through all of it. You can go through it as many times as you want. They're just trying to help you keep track of what you've done. So you can click through each of these slideshows. I highly, highly recommend that you go through these, especially, I'd especially recommend it right before you go take a test. So let's say you are planning to take your GED Ready math test tomorrow. It would be a great idea to spend an hour or two, 2 days before or 1 day before, going through each of these parts of the study guide. Now, keep in mind, just like it says up here, you don't need to know everything in this guide to pass the test, right? This guide is there to give you a pretty complete picture of what you're going to see on the test. You don't need to know everything in the guide to pass the test. So if you're looking through there and you're like, oh my God, I don't know all this stuff, that's okay. Try to focus on what you do know. And try to focus on just thinking through how you would solve those problems. And if there's something on there that you want help with or that you feel worried about, that's what I'm for. Yeah, so get in touch with me. All of the lessons that we're doing on the Google Classroom are aligned with the skills in this study guide. So the skills that they're talking about in the study guide are the things that we are working on each week in the Google Classroom. All right, and then there's a few more resources down here. They have free math practice questions. So there's 10 questions that they give you for free that you can use for practice. And then there are a couple of other resources. Yeah, so there's resources that you can pay for, the GED Flash for Math. This is a paid product that you can buy. You do not have to buy it. You don't have to pay for it. I would never require you or suggest that you buy something, but it's an option. I have had 2 students buy it in the past. They both gave me very good feedback about it. They said it was very helpful. So that's available if you want it. And then there's also a link to scheduling the GED Ready practice test. Again, if you are wanting to take your GED Ready test, or if you're wondering if you should take your GED Ready test soon, that's something to get in touch with me about. Okay, so that is a basic overview of the resources that are available to you on GED.com. It is the home of all of your test scores, as well as some important and interesting study material. If you have any questions, if you have any more questions about GED.com, let me know. Otherwise, happy studying, and I will talk to you again soon.